Welcome back to your Networth's Network. Guys, I said it right this time. I'm your host, Corey McNabb. This is a networking style podcast where we bring up special guests, we learn a little about them, learn about their business, and then how we can all work together. My goal in life is to rise to a place of excellence, and I want to bring you with me. So, that being said, let's bring up our special guest, Mr. Brad Lewis. What is up, Brad?
What's up, everybody? Man, I'm excited for this podcast. This is exciting.
Oh, dude, it's just been a matter of time since I get you on here.
I know you've been knocking on my door a couple times. I've been just super busy traveling, and finally found a week to just take a deep breath. And I'm like, you know what? I got to get on Corey's podcast.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know you, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you got going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Brad Lewis. I'm based out of Houston, on the north side of Houston, and I'm one of the regional Subto leaders down here with KJ Mudd and Andrew Arriaga. Right now, I'm actually a full-time real estate investor, which is super exciting. A couple months ago, I recently got laid off from my W-2, and I decided, you know what? Now's the time to just go all into real estate. I've been doing real estate for about 2 years now, and heavily getting into creative financing and Subto for about a year and a half. I actually started with my primary house that I ended up turning into a rental. And my idea with real estate, because that's what I love, is to buy a house, move into it, move a year later, buy another house, rent it, and just keep doing that. But, being in Subto and learning about creative financing, you find out that there's a faster way of doing this. And so now I am buying creative deals. I have an awesome wholesaling team, and I'm starting to get into the lending side of real estate, which is pretty exciting.
Awesome. Okay. So you're kind of doing it all then.
I guess, yeah. I can say I have that shiny object syndrome, but the difference is I'm taking action in all those. So
There you go. So you recently got laid off. What was your W-2? What space did you work in?
yeah, so I was a software engineer. So I wrote code, developed software for um, a company I was contracted out by the military. So we did some pretty cool things with that. It was a fun job. It's just not quite the path that I wanted to continue on after learning more about real estate and what kind of wealth you can create for, my goals and for my family.
Okay. And how long had you been doing real estate while you were at your job before before you went full time? How long were you doing this?
Yeah, so I started educating myself and gaining that foundation of knowledge probably 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Really just looking into it, trying to figure out what real estate strategy was going to work for me in my current situation. So, while working my W-2, I'd listen to podcasts. When I'd get off work, I'd read books, do all these things that I knew I needed to build because I wasn't quite ready to hop all into real estate. Once I kind of started figuring out more of my avatar and the path, then I was able to actually kind of focus more on taking action towards my real estate goals while working that W-2. And so the luxury I had was I was building that out with my W-2. So when I lost my job, it was an easy transition into real estate.
Yeah, because you already had that built up. You had systems in place instead of some people like I know I've thought about being like, you know what? I'm gonna quit and go all in on this, but I'd have to be building things from scratch. So it makes sense. Okay, so it sounds like you started looking into real estate, learning some, and then you came across Pace and Creative. Um, Tell us about that. What made you decide? You know what, this is the route I want to go, um, and just kind of tell us that story, how you got started, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So during that time of gaining that knowledge at my W-2, I kept thinking, man, to be able to buy a rental, I got to save up 20% down, 25%, get a loan. That's going to take me a couple years, and I can buy in the rental and then just repeat that. And then that's when I got on the path of, okay, well, if I just move every year, buy a house, move every year, then I can get a rental. That'll be a little bit faster because then I can use the loan products out there by putting a lower down payment. And kind of walking that path and that strategy down with my wife and explaining it to her, she didn't like the idea of, wait, you're telling me we got to move every year? It's a lot of work. And I was like, trust me, it's going to work out for the long run. This is the path we want to do. It's going to help our family. We're just going to move every year. It's not a big deal. We're young. We can handle it. And then that's when we realized once we moved into our next house, we're like, okay, that was a lot of work. And I started realizing there's got to be a better way. There's just got to be a better way out there. So I just started doing a bunch of research, and all these Pace Morby videos just kept popping up all over my social media. And I'm like, who is this guy? This is ridiculous. There's no way you can do this. There's no way you can use other people's money to buy real estate. There's just no way. And after seeing, I don't know how many ads come across my screen, I was like, you know what? I'm going to look into this creative financing. So I started watching more videos on Pace, and the dots just started connecting in my head. I'm like, wait a second, I actually can see this happening. It connected more and more, gained that foundation, that knowledge. And then I ended up going to a Subto meetup out here in Houston. And I was like, I'm just going to go see what the community is all about. I showed up, and there must have been probably 350, maybe 400 people that showed up to that event because Pace just so happened to be in town. So everybody wanted to come out and see him. And after networking with the people there, I was like, this is the way I want to go. Like, this is the route. This is the community I want to be around. And so I just dove all in, and from day one, just started taking action on what I can do to acquire properties faster. And that's how I ended up actually getting into wholesaling.
Okay. All right. So after deciding to join the community, that was the first thing you did, was start wholesaling, and then you started buying. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I joined the community as a buyer, and I wanted to buy. So I was just networking, talking to people as a buyer. And that's when I met Andrew Arriaga, who was explaining how he was buying all his Subto deals, and he was getting them really cheap because he was doing wholesaling. And I'm like, interesting. I was like, okay, well, at the time I didn't want to have to pay assignment fees because I hadn't quite put together other people's money with buying deals yet. So I kept using my own funds. And so I was like, okay, well, if I wholesale, I can get these deals way cheaper to buy. And so I ended up working with Andrew on his wholesale team at the time. And I was actually cold calling, doing everything, calling agents, negotiating deals. And that's just not my avatar. But I did that for 3 months because I knew I needed to gain that foundation. I needed that knowledge. I needed to understand what creative financing was. And the best way to do it is to try to communicate that to someone else. And it allows you to learn a lot faster because I don't know about you, but hopping on the phone, trying to explain something to someone and not really knowing what you're talking about is embarrassing. It definitely drops your ego down. So I had to learn faster. About 2 months into that is when I found my first deal from calling, and I took it to Andrew, and Andrew's like, hey, let's buy it together. And I was like, sure. Like, I want to be a buyer. So we ended up taking that property down. It's funny, we ended up actually bringing in a PML on that deal. So we didn't even really have to bring a whole lot of our own money in on that first deal. And from that moment, it clicked even more. I was like, okay, I'm going to just wholesale because I can get more deals funneling into my pipeline at a cheaper amount because I didn't have to pay the assignment fee. So I kind of did things reverse. Most people do wholesale, then to buy. I came in as a buyer, went to wholesale.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of similar. I was like, I got into this community because I wanted to buy, and then of course, everybody pushes wholesaling because it is a quick way to start. And so I was like, oh well, now I got to be a wholesaler. And so, obviously I joined your team and called for a little bit, but now here I am trying to buy multifamily. So it's interesting. I'm guessing, are you sticking with kind of all three avenues that you've got going on, or are you planning to build one up to kind of move away from the other?
Yeah, so I never really had a long-term vision with wholesaling. Um, Wholesaling was there to help build the pipeline, bring in some just extra side money. But I understood that I don't plan to build this massive multi-million dollar wholesale business and just only rely on that, because I want to buy assets more than just the active income coming in. And so it's basically a placeholder until I, build up more capital, until I buy more properties, until I can get into a different situation for myself. So I plan on continuing to build the buying side continuously, because I plan to buy forever. I'm starting with single family. I am building out my single family portfolio. And then, to be honest, the wholesale money I make, I use that for lending. I also lend out of my retirement accounts that I had from my previous employers and my wife's retirement account. So I can lend out of that. And so I was just realized, okay, if I buy, I can lend, I can kind of build those two things together. Because like I said, I know how to use other people's money to buy assets now. I know how to leverage that. I know leverage partnerships and structure deals that way. So I don't necessarily need my capital to take down these properties, which is why I can go out and lend my money.
Gotcha. So when you're buying, are you utilizing other wholesalers? Are you finding these deals on your own? Um, how does that process look for you buying?
Yeah. So if any deals come from our team that are in areas that I want to buy, I'll look at them. And the idea with the wholesale is to be able to buy those ones that I like. So if they're in my market, which is Houston and DFW, I'm going to take a look at them if they fit for me, because I'm mostly buying stuff as like a long-term rental. Not really focused on all the other exits. I do have a wrap. I've done that. I just don't plan to do a whole lot of those right now. So it's mostly long-term rentals. So if they don't fit that buy box, I'll wholesale them out. But so I get a lot of my deals from just our team, and then just building connections with other wholesalers all throughout Houston, DFW. They're bringing me opportunities all the time to take a look at. And again, if it fits my criteria, I'll look to take it down.
Okay. So you do all your own underwriting and all that type of stuff?
Yeah. So for our wholesale team, we have an in-house underwriter, and he's a friend of mine that I grew up with. So I trained him to be our underwriter, and he's crushing it right now. He loves that kind of stuff. But if it's going to be a buy and hold from me, I'll typically I'll do my own deep underwriting on that to make sure it fits all of my criteria. But yeah, I do my own underwriting if I need to. If not, I can pass it off to my buddy.
Gotcha. I definitely, maybe after this, if you got time, have you look over something. I'm trying to underwrite a deal right now, um, that actually came across in the uh, Paces Free Facebook group. Um, it's a sixplex in Gulf Breeze, Florida.
Oh, if you're going multifamily underwriting, you're gonna have to hit up my boy Joseph Mudd.
All right,
I can
I'll reach out to him.
I can take a look at it, but I do mostly single family underwriting. I have not crossed the bridge into multifamily underwriting yet. And
Gotcha.
it's just because I'm hyper focused in those three avenues that I explained earlier.
Hmm.
Multifamily will be something that I approach in the future, just not right now. So I don't feel like I need to put my attention towards learning
Well,
that.
honestly, my hope is that I get enough experience that by the time you're like, "Hey, let's do multifamily," I'll be like, "Hey, do a deal with me."
Absolutely, I'd love that.
Awesome. Okay, so What that tells me is that, guys, if you are either looking to buy for yourself and open to wholesaling, or you're just straight wholesaling in Houston or DFW, and you got a deal you think Brad might want, reach out to him. He's got his Instagram right there. You can DM him. Outside of that, let's talk about your lending. Because I know we've talked a little bit about lending in the past. Are you strictly doing like Gator style lending, or are you doing private money lending? What kind of lending are you looking to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a good amount of all the different types of lending other than your like hard money. I have connections for hard money that I would use on any flips if I were to do a flip. I have those connections. But right now I do EMD lending, which is a lot of people do that, but I get people that bring me opportunities for EMD quite often. So I want to build more of that out. I will do double closes. And then I will do PML, but I'm kind of picky with it. It just depends who the person is. I am lending like anything I do PML is coming straight from my wife's self-directed IRA or my self-directed IRA. And I also lend out of my HSA account that I had. So I have a self-directed HSA. And then I will gap lend, but it has to be in Texas. I only want to do any gap lending in Texas just because I need to make sure I can do my full due diligence and make sure the process is good for me and that there's actually enough room on the deal to even bring in a gap lender. And I'm comfortable with Texas, which is why I want to stay there. I will do PMP, but I'm not actively looking for that right this minute. I'm looking to grow out my accounts from the PML standpoint. And then within like a year or two, start looking to deploy that as like a PMP or private money partner. This is a better way to say it for people who don't know. So yeah, I do a little bit of all of it, but right now, if I'm building something really strong right now, it's kind of the EMD stuff. So.
Okay. So for your PMLs, like what time frame is ideal for you?
Yeah, so I am looking really no more than a year. I'll push it up to 2 years if it really makes sense, or maybe I know the person and I'm okay with staying in on that deal. So yeah, probably around that year mark if it's PML.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I'm assuming like your rate of return, is that a flat rate that you shoot for, or is it kind of depend on the deal?
So I mean, for my PML, I'm looking around that. I'm on the lower side. I'm okay because I'm using my retirement account, and as long as I can get a steady return over the long run, that's what I'm more so focused on. So I'm sitting in the PML position around that 12%, maybe 15%, pushing up to that. But I'm not like crazy going super high, but I will not come lower because I just have other opportunities that I can jump in on. So I'm actually one of Pace's PMLs on that RV park up in Montana that he just closed on.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, that's pretty exciting. I funded that through my self-directed IRA and everything. I'm actually flying up to Montana on the 18th to go check out the RV park and hang out with Pace for the day. So
Is that separate from the Day with Pace thing, or
yeah, I
nice?
mean, he might be combining it with that day, but I have my day with Pace in October.
Gotcha.
So he gave his PMLs a day to come hang out up there. I'm like, sure, why not? Can't miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Okay. So this podcast is mainly about you And so I don't necessarily want to have me talk too much. So is there something that, because I pretty much lost all my train of thought. I'll just be honest with you guys. And Brad, I'm sure you know this is totally unedited. So people
Hey,
get what they get.
that's the best though. The best videos are the unedited ones. It's not scripted. Everything I'm saying, I don't have just some AI scripted
Yeah.
thing to
So
follow.
I
I'm
mean,
just rolling with it.
we could totally talk about our team. But I mean, I just had I was on with Justin Tumanowski, and then we had the live Q&A yesterday, as the day of this recording. So I feel like I've talked a lot about the team, but we can talk about the team if you want. If it's your pride and joy, or if there's something else you want to talk about, we can talk about that as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I'd like to really emphasize on is the team things. Our team is awesome, right? And if you're out there and you're new, you're just getting started, real estate requires a full team in at some level of capacity. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be only wholesaling. It's in anything. When you buy and hold, you have to have a team ready to go. When you're lending, you still have to have a team, even if it's yourself, finding the deals and underwriting. There's like paperwork. So we can talk about our team. Our team's awesome, but I'd like to actually use that team aspect and kind of correlate that to like a community, because your podcast is your network's network, right? And your network will allow you to get to your goals and where you want to go in whatever avenue in your life, whether it's starting a business, whether it's real estate, whether it's relationships, family, spiritually, doesn't matter. It requires a lot. It requires a team. We weren't put on this earth to be alone. We were put on the earth to have community. And so I like to talk about community so much because when I first joined Subto, I had the vision that I'm doing everything by myself. I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to wear every single hat. And I quickly found out that one, that's a lot of work, like a lot of work. And two, I messed up a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot from it, but there were so many mistakes that I actually could have probably fast tracked my journey a little bit quicker by just finding those people out in the community. And so now that we operate this team that we have in this community, it's awesome because, like I said, we have an internal underwriter. We have internal TC. We have people who are finding buyers, dispo guys. We have acquisition team, outreachers, team leads. Like everything comes together as like a strong oiled machine and keeps the machine running. And so I like to talk about that with people that I come across because, yeah, I can sit here and talk about how to buy properties and how to underwrite and how to raise money. But I think it's so much more important to talk about building your network out, actually building that network. Because when you have that network, you can rely on people. You can get resources you need quickly. Like the other day, last week. So it's part of the business, but we're actually going through an eviction right now on one of our properties, and leveraging the community, reaching out and saying, hey, who knows an attorney? Who knows a real estate attorney in this area? Who can help me out? And get 4 or 5 people reaching out to you. Like things like that is so powerful in real estate that like it helps so much, like with your network. And of course, as your network grows, your net worth will keep going when you're around the right people.
Mm-hmm. Is that property in Atlanta by chance?
No.
I was gonna say because I know a dude. He has a company that they go and kick people out of houses.
No, it's down here. It's down here in Houston. So
Gotcha.
that's I love talking about all the upsides in real estate, but there's obviously a bunch of downsides that nobody likes to talk about. And so it's just a
Well,
part
that's
of the
just like
game.
life.
Yeah.
You got good moments and bad moments. So, okay. So actually, you bringing that up, I want to ask if your network is so important, how do you propose people who are maybe just getting started or maybe they're struggling to build their network? What's your recommendation for them to get started? There's a couple steps they can take to start connecting with people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two things. One, you should be going to every single meetup local. No, yeah, you can go to all these Zooms and yeah, you can get a part of all these different people's groups and online stuff, but there's nothing that compares to going in person face to face with a bunch of other people that you would like to get to. Like that's what I did. I went to a bunch of networking events. I went to a bunch of meetups, and a lot of people I'd talk to, it'd be like, this guy has 10 properties. This guy has an apartment complex. This guy has an RV park. This guy, everybody has so many different things that they are going after. And you learn a lot of information by just communicating with them. I may not have to know anything. I have no knowledge. I'm just brand new, but I can still go just listen and pick up on what people are doing to slowly gain that knowledge. That's like the big thing. You cannot skip that. Even if you feel like I don't have that value yet, you don't have the value yet. You will have it, just not at that moment, and that's okay. Figure out something else that you can provide. Something you can provide is just maybe smaller tasks, smaller things in someone's business. Become somebody that helps out a person who's ahead of you. And I like to go after people who may be ahead of you by like a chapter or who's just like one step or two steps. Don't go after the people who are on chapter 10, chapter 15, because they've grown so big already that they may not spend that extra time with you at the bottom. And it's not because they don't want to, it's just because they have so much going on. They just don't have that time. But if you can find somebody who's a step above you, you can provide some type of value to them that they can then pour back into you. And a lot of times I like to tell people, and this one's hard, is sometimes you work for free. Even if that person is going to pay you, which I do think that everybody should pay someone for help, you should go in with the expectation, I'm doing this for free. I'm actually doing this for the knowledge. Because as soon as I build that foundation of knowledge up, then I can actually start to see clear to then take actionable steps to get to my goals. But too many people do the reverse. They come in wanting something. I want something. I want to get paid this. I need you to pay me this, or I need this. I need the money. And not saying you're not going to find people that don't want to help you out, but it does not, it slows down your growth, in my opinion. Because some people are like, oh, great. Yeah, I can try to funnel you some stuff, but I got to go do all this. Like, or they'll go hire someone. It's like, hey, I'll just actually hire someone full time to do these tasks. And so that's something that I would say is very important. That's what I did. It's how Andrew and I's relationship grew so strong, is because when I first talked to him, he had 10 properties. And I'm like, I want to have 10 properties. And that's why I ended up cold calling for him. And I was like, hey man, I'll do whatever. I can give you 2 hours every day. Give me your list. I'll call it. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to learn. And I just did that repetitively. And then after some time, he realized, man, you have different skills that I actually need, that you're doing the wrong skills over here. And I'm like, oh, I do? And I ended up molding myself into a different journey because of something like that. And now Andrew and I see eye to eye, and we're business partners buying properties together, all because in the very beginning, I came in and I was going to lead with my value, with no expectation for a return other than learning and gaining that knowledge.
Gotcha. So what it sounds like to me, hearing your story made me think of, if you're new and you're just getting started, maybe you don't know exactly what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you like to do within this industry, what you don't like to do. And a lot of people will say, don't get shiny object syndrome, focus, focus. And there is a point to that. You want to focus, but starting out, if you don't, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you got to try a bunch of different things. Brad here, he started calling. Did he have an idea? Maybe he wasn't going to be, great on the phones, or not great on the phones. That's not what I meant.
Hey,
that,
what you saying here?
that he wouldn't like being on the phones all the time. I don't know. Maybe, right? But as he did it, he realized, okay, this isn't necessarily what I want to do, and I can do this to help out as well. And sometimes you don't even see that, and somebody else, like Andrew, came and said, hey, you got these strengths. So try it all. But even if you're like, oh no, I can't, I don't want to be on the phones. There was something Brad said a while back that clicked in my mind. Even if you don't want to make cold calls or whatever, doing the action will actually get you in the rooms with the people who will help you find your path. So that's what's happened to me. That's why I'm, part of Brad's team, and switched things around and got him on my podcast. So.
I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. Is when you show a level of commitment to someone, you start to build loyalty with them. And next thing you know, you will be in a room that you're like, how did I get here? And I learned that. I learned that with Andrew. Like straight up, I learned that with Andrew. I joined Subto. I started making calls from Andrew's list. Calling. I hated it. But I knew I needed to keep doing this because I knew this will help find what I needed to, like you said, find out what I need to know but I don't know. But if I keep doing this, it'll open up. At least it'll check off something I know I don't want to do, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And so instead of closing the door on that avenue and just jumping into something else and then lose another couple months and then another couple months, I just stayed the course with that. And next thing you know, I get a call from Andrew saying, hey, we're going to actually drive down to Arizona for one of the masterminds in Subto. We're not going to go to the mastermind. We're just going to show up and go network with all the people at the mastermind. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that. I've only been in Subto for like 2 months. I don't know anything. I'm so brand new. And my confidence was so low, but I realized, I was like, you know what? If Andrew's calling me, asking me to go to this, I have to do it. And so I ended up actually booking a ticket. I flew out there. We all got an Airbnb. We went to all the after events and everything with the mastermind people. And sure enough, next thing you know, I get a text message from other mastermind students saying, hey, everybody's going over to Pace's house to hang out. And we're going to go down in his podcast. And he's going to host, I think, one of his podcasts in there with all the mastermind people in his house. And he invited everybody. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, how am I here right now? I came walking up to Pace's house. I looked at it, and that was like a really big realization of like, when you show commitment and loyalty to someone, they want to pour back into you and help you out. And that is what helped me get into that room. I made a lot of great connections. I ended up finding out that I actually had a lot more value in that room than a lot of the people I met. But my confidence had significantly dropped my self-esteem in that moment, that when I left Arizona, I realized, I actually have a lot more skills that I can provide. I actually can get into bigger rooms, and it's important to get into those rooms. And so from that point on, that's anybody I meet that's new, I'm like, even when you're new and you don't have the value yet, commit to someone. Commit to someone that's above you by not very far, because they will bring you along into what they can get into. And then they will get into bigger rooms, and it's just kind of like a domino effect. You'll just keep getting into the next room, just by showing that level of, commitment and things like that. It's so powerful.
That's awesome. I hadn't even considered, there's a mastermind going on. Let's just go network with people. I might do that next time there's something weird. I don't think I convinced my wife to go hang out in another state. I don't know, maybe. That's awesome though. And I'll say I've had somewhat of a similar experience. And for me, for you said showing that loyalty to Andrew is what got you there. For me, it was showing loyalty to your team or our team. And because Pat, one of the regional leaders here in Atlanta, he calls me a traitor. Like, I'm not even referred to as a part of the Atlanta squad. I'm part of the Houston squad.
So, we're trying to pull you down here.
Yeah. So it's just funny, but that you're exactly right. Committing, even if it's just for 3 months, right? That opens up so many other opportunities. And I actually think a big part of that is actually something I learned right before Squad Up, is especially if you're new, one, make sure you know what you need. Like, what are you lacking in? What parts do you need help with? And then voicing that or getting it out there, letting people know what you need. I wouldn't have gone to Squad Up had I not got over myself and just posted in the group and said, hey guys, I really want to go to Squad Up. I've got a lot of people who are wanting me to go, but I just can't. I have the time off. I just can't afford it. And then somebody was like, hey, here you go. Here's a ticket. Like, the graciousness of our community is amazing. So voice your needs, and somebody, if not me or Brad, will reach out and help out as best we can.
Yeah, I mean, Corey, you've been giving back so much to this community, especially on our team, just pouring into new people. And that's a great example, because you just kept pouring into people, you're helping them out. And then when you needed help, someone was there for you. And it snowballs. It's so powerful. Like, that loyalty and that commitment is so crucial. I want to emphasize that, because anybody that I work with, anybody that's on my team or in my circle, when I see your commitment and I see your loyalty, I want to pour into you that much more. And even if you decide, hey, Brad, I did this for 3 months, I'm not really liking it, I want to do another journey, you think I'm going to be upset with you and say, oh, go kick rocks? No, I'm going to say, hey, let's hop on the phone and figure out how we can roadmap to get to where you want to go faster. Why? Because you've poured into us, and I want to pour back and continuously keep pouring back into you. And it compounds. It really does compound, because I've had a lot of people do the same thing to me that I would want to do to anybody who is maybe one step below myself. And that's why I say keep that loyalty strong, keep the communication strong, because this is your reputation. Real estate is a reputation in a network game. As soon as you lose your network, well, you can't really, it's hard to progress. But if you lose your reputation, it's very hard to bounce back. And so even if you join a team, you don't even have to join our team, but if you join anybody's team, commit to them. Have loyalty with them. And then if it doesn't work out, then communicate to them. It shows your character, shows who you are, helps you with your reputation. We've lost some amazing people on our team, amazing people that I didn't want to see go, but I am so happy that they came to me. They told me what's going on. They told me the direction I want to go. And I still talk to them this day, figuring out, how can I help you get there faster? What can I do to help you get there? Why? Because they were committed and they did the right thing. So I think that's awesome that someone got you a squat up ticket like that. That just shows you how amazing our community is and how many go-givers there are within our community. You give
Yeah.
back, people will give back to you. It's amazing.
And I got to shout her out. So thank you again, Rachel Baker. It's just a matter of time before I get you on this podcast as well.
Rachel Baker, you're amazing. If you hear this, you're amazing.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I mean, I can't really come up with any other questions that I can, I'm blundering here. But is there anything else you want to say before we move on to the last part of our podcast?
No, I mean, we dropped a lot of good stuff on this podcast, and I hope that anybody that's listening to this really just sits down to think about your journey, what you want to do. Do you want to do this alone? Or do you want to do this with others, with other people? You just ask yourself those questions and see what you come up with. I think I know your answer, but
Awesome. Well, let's move on then. Brad, I just have a few questions. They're pretty basic, same ones I ask every time. So recurring viewers, you guys know, but let's go for it. First off, what made you want to be on the podcast today?
oh, come on. That's like the easiest one. How could I not come hop on here with Mr. Mustachio over here? Look at that. Every time I see Corey, I think this keeps getting bigger and bigger. No,
Yeah.
This podcast is awesome because it's really showing people how crucial and how important your network is. I know you spin the words and you like to create a tongue twister with the network. You just want people to do that, but it really is so important. The more networking you do, the more you're going to learn, the more business you do with people, the bigger your inner circle gets. So it's crucial. Of course, I love that you gave me the opportunity to come on here and speak on your platform.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, actually, I think the past couple podcasts have actually screwed up my own podcast name, but whatever. It worked when I made it up. So I know we are working together on the team, but outside of the team, why aren't we doing business together?
That's a good question. Why aren't we?
Uh-huh.
No, I think Corey and I have talked in the past, and we actually should revisit this conversation. But we were talking about, possibly taking down some assets together because I know Corey wants to be a buyer. I'm not opposed to diving into the Georgia market. I know it's a good market. A lot of people go out there, but I would definitely need some help from my Houston/Georgia connection out there. No. But no, I think I think buying assets is going to be our thing that we need to make happen, so we can do some business. Because of course we're on the same team, but that's a little different. Let's take it outside and see what else we can do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we definitely need to revisit that because I was very interested in the idea you would come up with. So, awesome. Then, what would you say are your strengths in business? Obviously, or maybe not obviously, your calling skills, not on that list. No, I'm just kidding. What would you say your strengths are?
Hey, I got good sales advice. I'm not I can't hop on that phone. No, I can if I need to. I just choose not to. My strengths, I would say, I'm more in the back end with systems, automations, integration, that type of work. I love that. I geek out on that stuff. Like I live in Google Sheets. If there's something that I can come up with that can live in a Google Sheet, I'm going to create it, and I'm going to create it even in downtimes if I'm bored. Like that's that's my strong suit. I love doing that kind of stuff. So really more on the scaling aspect. So I like to help talk to people into like coming up with ideas to scale where they're at with different perspectives that I've learned and acquired. So I would say more in that back end stuff.
Okay. So more integrator style.
Yeah,
Gotcha. And you're
more
sitting here
integrated.
telling me you're not a techie guy trying to figure out your microphone.
That's hardware. No, that was a hardware issue.
All right. So we know your strengths. Well, what about your weaknesses?
So I would. It's funny. So being an integrator on that tech side, I have a lot of introverted tendencies. Now I can be very extroverted when I need to. And it actually takes a lot out of me to get to the extrovert point. But if you sit down on a one-on-one, I'll sit and talk your ear off. I can talk. But the weakness, and it's something I am continuously working on, is being able to actually go into a networking event and just going and talking to people, which is funny because the biggest point of this whole podcast is building your network out. And that's why I emphasize so much on it, because me coming from the integrator introvert side, I even realize how important it is to get out and network, build those relationships. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point, like a long time. And it's taken me a lot of those moments where I'm just like, take a deep breath and say, if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not growing. So I'll say that to myself, and I just go dive into a conversation. And then once I get in a conversation, I'm good. I have a lot of knowledge. I can talk about a lot of things, but it's that initial boost to get going. So, and that's why I have a harder time on the phones, because it was just like I would stare at my cell phone, like Pace always says, the heaviest thing in your pocket or whatever is your cell phone. And I just look at it and I'm like, oh man, the phone is dialed in, but I don't want to hit call.
Yeah.
I had all the knowledge. I had the information for the call. I just didn't want to click it. So that's something I'm continuously growing on. And I don't like to look at things as like complete weakness. I like to look at it like things I need to work on to get better at.
And so when it comes to like going to networking events, there's a certain level of confidence that you have to have really to just walk up to someone and start talking to them. I mean, I think my favorite encounter that I had while at Squad Up, because I've figured out at Golden Ticket and at Squad Up that I love talking to people, which is funny because I bring that up to some of my family members and they're like, really interesting. We had no idea. But I was and I feel so bad. I'm blanking on the name. I can picture her, but I can't remember her name right now. I was actually talking to someone and then happened to make eye contact with a lady across the room. And I just go like that. And she's like, me? I'm like, yeah, come here. And so she walks over and I go, hey, we made eye contact. So I figured we had to have a conversation. And she started laughing. But like, at that point, I'd already talked to probably 20 people. And so my confidence was through the roof. I was just like, I don't care who it is. Let's talk. But it's that initial, like, oh, okay.
It's
How do I
the
approach
initial.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, that it's that initial like I'll sit and like walk circles until someone will be like, "Hey, I haven't talked to you yet," and I'm like, "Perfect, thanks. You initiated. Now let's talk."
Actually, the cheat to that is make sure you are wearing a flowery, bright shirt. I had so many people approach me just because of my shirt. So
Are
that's a
you
good
sure
way.
it's not growing a big giant mustache?
Well, they said it was the shirt, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It may have been the combination.
I can't do that. I can get nowhere near what you got going right now.
Oh, give it time, bro. Give it time.
No, I've tried. I gave it a whole year. It does not look that good like yours.
Well, it didn't always this way. This is honestly, I think if I shaved it off and then let it grow out again, it might even be better. But awesome. Okay, so back to you then. What do you, Brad Lewis, need help with that will make you money in the next 30 days?
Good question. You or anybody can bring me some deals to lend on or to buy. It's hard to say that buying the property will give me my money within the next 30 days, but it'll add to the portfolio. But if I'm looking to make money within the next 30 days, it'd probably be more on the lending side.
Gotcha. Okay. So, guys, you heard him. If you've got a EMD situation, or you just don't want to pay it, because let's be honest, who wants to put EMD down? Lenders do. That's why they're here. EMD situation. If you need private money lending, and I think you said gap lending was in Texas only.
Yep, gap lending is in Texas, and then double closing. So if you reach out to me on my Instagram, Subto, I actually have my lending criteria in my link tree on my account. So you can go take a look at that. It breaks down everything. It breaks down all my requirements, everything that I would need to move forward on something.
Awesome. Look, Brad's made it super simple for you. So go check out his Instagram. If you got something, send it to him. Get you guys working together. Or if you're like him and you don't want to make that initiation, I'm an easy dude to talk to. You can come to me. I'll set you up. All right. If you have a problem initiating conversation with me, you have a real problem and you should seek counseling. I'm just kidding. I'll be your counselor, actually, so let's connect.
I love it.
Awesome. So last thing then, Brad, what's the best way people to get in touch with you? Is it your Instagram or is there another route?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best. So you can follow me at Subto, or if you're on Facebook and you're in, if you're in, I guess, any of the pages, you can reach out to me there. So, but yeah, going to Subto, reach out to me through that. That's the best. And I will say, I like to tell everybody this too, and this isn't just for me. This isn't just my criteria. This should be for everybody's criteria. When you reach out to someone, say your name, give a small little intro of what you're doing, or if you need help with something, whatever, or if you got something, but introduce yourself. Because I'll tell you right now, when I get an introduction come to me, I'm more excited to interact versus, hey, Brad, I need this. I'm just like, well, I'll get to you when I get to you. And a lot of times I get so busy, I actually just forget to follow back up. But the people that actually put the time in to introduce themselves, I'm more than happy to help out.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good tip. Make sure I'm doing that from now on as well. Great. Well, Brad, that's all I got. That's pretty much the show.
I love it. That was awesome.
So I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on and chatting with me. I know I like to say that I'm here to help you out, right? Get you out there. But honestly, I'm just trying to build my episode list. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm excited. I'm excited that you're consistently keep doing this, keep getting more people on here. I mean, that's so cool that you had Justin Tumanowski on here, like that. Keep doing this because it's cool watching these videos and it'll help people. Like it'll help people a lot. And yeah, man, let's do some business together and let's keep crushing it.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you. If there's anything else you want to say, now's your time, or forever hold your peace.
No. Guys, last thing I'm going to leave you with. You guys should be following. You guys should be tuning in to Corey. You guys should go reach out to Corey. Go talk to him. He's awesome. He's got so much value to give. He wants to give back. He wants to help out. And Obviously, he's looking for deals out in Georgia. He wants to buy some multifamily, so you know what to bring him there. But just overall, Corey's awesome. I've had a couple opportunities meeting in person. I think it was Golden Ticket first, and then it was Squad Up. We've had a lot of amazing conversations. And if you have not, like Corey said, if you have not reached out to him, like you're missing out, because there's a big wealth of knowledge up there in that mustache first and then to the brink. Yeah, reach out to him. So
Awesome. I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna send you back and close this thing up. All right. All right. Well, guys, that's our show. That was Brad, Subto Lou. Don't get him confused with his partner, Subto Drew. Okay, I know it's easy, but Subto Drew hasn't been on this podcast, so I mean, how great can he really be? No, I'm just kidding. He is awesome. Guys, I hope you got a lot of information out of that. I hope you got a lot of value from it. And if you liked it, hang on, I got a button I've got to hit right here. Like and subscribe. Come back next week. Or don't. I mean, I would prefer it if you did, but I'm not your mom. Do what you need to do. Get out there. Hey, you know what? Here's what I'll say. If you're not watching this, you better be working on your future. There. Go out, network with me specifically. And then anybody else can come after that. But guys, until next week, I hope you guys have a peaceful week, a good week, and maybe a little bit of struggle, because struggle's good. Okay. Struggling, you grow. It's good for you. So I just hope it's not too much. And if it is, again, come talk to me. My wife says I'm a great armchair psychologist. So let's chat. I'm giving you so many reasons to talk to me. Mustache is only one of them. Anyways, guys, have a peaceful week, and I'll see you next week.